Good evening, everybody. We are here today, September 15th, 2025, 7 p.m. For this workshop. So, budget workshop, fiscal year 2026. So, at this time, calling the meeting to order. We do have a certification of a quorum. The only person missing is Blake Barger. He will not be here. But anyways, we'll move into public comments. There's no public comments, so council discussions and comments. Anything on that?
Yeah,
We're gonna just go into the budget workshop.
yeah, we do have a presentation for you, and as Brittany makes her way up, I just want to articulate to you how the budget process works, because I don't think we've done a really good job of explaining that, how the process works from start to finish. Take me less than 5 minutes to walk you through this. We start way earlier than you see the budget. The first time you see it is in June. We start meeting with each department head in May. It is a meeting with the city manager, the finance team, and the department head. Every single person in this audience met with me for hours at a time. And the very first thing we do is get a position summary. And that outlines what position are in their department. And I don't care the name of the person. It's not personal. It's what are they doing to advance the mission of the city, and is this role effective? And if you look at the CAFR, you can tell that sometimes we remove positions, and sometimes we eliminate positions, and sometimes we put them right back. And so it is a strategic part of the process is to vet every single position. And we do that every year. And then we go line by line. It's a grueling process. Every single one of them can tell you, I'm asking questions that I usually know the answer for, but I need to hear them so that I can respond to you. And we do this every year before we even come to you. And then we meet in June. And the objective in June is to make sure that this budget, which is not just a financial document, it's a policy document. It guides the direction of the city through appropriation, tells us where you want to go and what mission you have for the city. Some years, like this year, it doesn't become about wants, it's only needs. We cut 232,000 out of the general fund, and we did that because sales tax dropped about $500,000. And we thought this is the only way we can get there without going above the no new revenue rate. Every single person in this audience cut something from their budget, including yours truly. And we didn't put raises in there. We didn't add staffing that affected the no new revenue rate. But we did prepare the budget. One thing we didn't do, and this is on me and Brittany, mainly me, we didn't do a thorough job of presenting the budget to you. And so we're going to do that tonight. We're going to walk through the budget. Mr. Hancock has some thoughts that he communicated to you. I believe this was communicated to the Finance Committee, and I attempted to address that through an action plan, which I sent to all of you earlier, but it's in front of you again for your review. And Mr. Hancock will absolutely go through these. I think she's going to talk a little bit about some of these in her presentation. And then no action tonight. When we come back next week, we hope that we get direction from you how to write the budget ordinance. The tax rate is set either at the no new revenue rate or below. So if you direct us, we'll pull that number down. A reminder, you can't go above it. But if there's direction from council tonight, not in the form of a motion, but if we sense that, then we'll re-present this budget next week. You need to adopt next week. It's required by your city charter. So I'll give the floor to you, and please, council, if you have questions or comments, interrupt her, and we'll make an effort to get you out of here early.
Okay, you ready? Okay, here is your overall budget picture. This is what each fund has appropriated at this point. This was also in your budget ordinance. I added a chart to show you what's using most. Some people like pictures, some don't, so I gave you both. General fund is 12.6 million, water and sewer is 5.5, and EMS 3.097. Your debt service is 3.2 million. Your TRZ is 313,000. Solid waste is 2.9 million. Your TUF, that's your transportation user fee. That one is 210,000. Civic Center is 174,500. Fleet replacement is $169,700. Police seizure is $4,950. Hotel motel is $363,000. Juvenile case management and court technology are both at $7,500 for a total budget of $28,761,352. Your overall revenue, predominantly taxes, 15.9 million. Intergovernmental, 2 million. Licenses and permits, 490,000. Fines, 244,000. Charges for services, 6.67 million. Miscellaneous, 318,000. Interest, 273,000. And transfers, 2.7 million. And again, brings you to your 28.7 million.
As required by charter, your revenues must equal your expenditure. You cannot balance your budget using your fund balance. You have to make your revenues equal your expenditures, and that's outlined at the back of your budget in the charter section.
Yes, sir.
Where do the transfers come from?
Intergovernmental, they go utilities to debt service fund to cover the utilities debt, to the utility fund to cover operational expenses or IT.
EMS,
EMS,
general
general
fund.
fund.
And
Okay.
that's
Taxes are sales tax and property tax?
Thank you.
Yes.
hotel motel tax.
Okay, this is your total expenditures by, if you look in your budget books, each department is categorized into subsections, and that's what makes up your total expenditures. So personnel overall for the entire city is 11.2 million. That includes every employee at the city of El Campo, not just one specific fund or department. Supplies, again, this is across the board, 714,000. Other services, 1.9 million. Repairs and maintenance, 1.4 million. Operational expenses, 5.5 million. Again, transfers, 3.1 million. Miscellaneous of 3.2 million. Your capital outlay of 1.1 million and capital leases of 308,000. Yes.
And it's just a question, simply, for my clarification. So other services and miscellaneous, I don't need a breakdown 100%. What does that mean?
So we're gonna touch all of them going.
Are you going to do that? Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna
I'll
hit
wait.
every department, every line. We're gonna give it all to you.
Very, very good. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, this is your total taxable values, rates, and ratios. This is also in your budget book. Again, most of these are screenshots that are directly out of the budget book. If you want to follow along, you can pull it from the website, or you're welcome to follow this way. This shows our prior tax rates to the current tax rate and the proposed tax rate. As you can see, last year we were at 0.46006, and this year our no new revenue we're proposing is 0.49144. And it also shows you the value of a penny, what's going into maintenance and operations, and what is your debt service, or otherwise known as your INS rate. In addition to revenue and expenses that are not included, these are all active grants. This is not in your operating budget. We have 22.2 million in active grants going on right now at the city. Doesn't seem like a lot, but there's a lot of back work and administrative that we do in finance and admin to keep up with these grants for reporting and getting back our money from the entity that provided it to us. Does anyone have any questions about any of these specific grants? This is your general fund. We're going to jump into general fund now. So this is just general fund. This is comprised of your tax rate. This is what supports your general fund, and we're going to go through all the departments that are included. So there's a decrease total of $221,830 from last year. That is all different items that the department heads have cut out of their budget to try to be as frugal as possible in maintaining not having to increase our tax rate. The total collected sales tax last year was $6.3 million. It is $656,000 less than we projected. So that is why you've seen the cuts. The departmental transfers from utilities and EMS were both increased. We increased interest income since the rates are higher now to reflect more actual. Licenses and permits were also increased with the projection of the permits for the new school being built. These are all the expenditures in the general fund by department. So it shows 24 actuals, what we budgeted for 25, what we're estimating, what we're proposing for 26, and what the difference is for each department. So in the second to last column, if it's negative, that was cut out, and if it's positive, it was added to it. And again, we're going to hit all of these in detail by department. There are no raises in this budget. There are no positions for the general fund. So we'll start off with the non-departmental. This is your IT transfer, which is no longer because we now have an IT department in-house that is in your general fund. That is no longer a separate fund, so you won't see that transfer anymore. After next year, they'll all be zero. That will fall off. You won't even see it on this list. As of now, the only transfer is the fleet transfer, and that goes to the fleet fund, fleet replacement fund, and that you'll see as well in the utilities fund. The other thing is our multi-departmental. That includes insurance, unemployment, the insurance for the museum, postage, audit fees, the attorney, what's paid out to the CDC for their portion of sales tax. You'll see that number drop substantially because they get a percentage of sales tax collected. So if sales tax goes down, what they get goes down. Professional services, additional legal fees, awards for end of year, Christmas expenses. The other thing you will see disappeared is the Section 380 reimbursement for Lido. That expired this fiscal year. We made the last payment. Anyone have any questions about this before we move on? All right, the next section of the budget we're going to cover is the general government portion of the general fund. This includes mayor and council, admin, finance, personnel, GIS, municipal court, planning, and IT. All of those make up those total numbers, broken down in a pie chart by department for that section of the budget. Anyone have any questions? Okay, we'll start with mayor and council. There's no changes this year to the budget. Your total budget is $39,790. This includes your council salaries, the fees for the election clerk, payroll taxes that need to come out, any supplies that she has to buy for you guys up here, notepads, pens, calendars, whatever it may be, food for meetings when we have workshops that last a long time, that go long. Also includes your training and travel to go to different conferences, your dues that are due, event fees, TML dues, legal fees to publish for the Code of Ordinances, the new photos every year for council coming in and out, election expenses, miscellaneous things that come up throughout the year. Does anyone have any questions about mayor and council budget? I'm sure Kaylee would be happy to answer them. Okay, next up is admin. Again, there's no raises or changes to personnel. If you see any changes within the personnel services, it's just to reflect actual for things that changed after we did initial budgeting from last year, and we start working on this like April-ish before we even meet with the departments. So if anything changed between April and we adopted the budget in September, there's a good chance that it was not reflected on your budget when you adopted it. Longevity, of course, is going to increase every year for every department because every employee gets $5 per month that they're here.
And we're required by state law to provide our officers longevity pay. We are not required to pay longevity pay to the rest of the employees, although that's been our practice. It is also capped at $1,500. It's $5 a month per month for their longevity, she mentioned.
Your retirement, well, you'll see them go down in most departments. The rate fluctuates. We take a percentage, so the rate has dropped a little, so that's why you're going to see that go down. Gas and oil, that was increased because of the generator for actual expenses. Minor equipment, they took out some from there. Housekeeping is just cleaning supplies, toilet paper, paper towels, anything you can think of that goes into cleaning this building and supplying this building. Building and grounds, it's an old building. You can imagine the things that need to be repaired. We have AC issues frequently. We have leaks in the ceiling frequently. So we constantly have somebody out here fixing it. You could have been here about a month ago and had your brain vibrating in your head when they had to fix the broken P-trap to get rid of the sewer smell. That was fun. Communications, I'm sorry, it's zoomed in. I didn't know it was going to blow up that big. Electricity, again, that was just increased to reflect the actual prices. Overall, they cut $2,070 out of this budget for this year from last year. Any questions about that? Okay. In admin, you have 3 full-time employees. You have a city manager, a city secretary, and an assistant city secretary or an administrative assistant, whichever way you want to call it. There have been no changes to personnel in the past 3 years. Those positions have been there and they have stayed there. Anyone have any questions about those positions? Okay, next up is GIS, your Geographic Info Systems. Again, no raises or changes to personnel. The increase in this budget was for the GIS software that we use for the mapping on the website. It's called Esri. So again, you'll see the increase in longevity because that's going to go up every year regardless. Retirement's going to decrease because the rate fluctuated. Overall, we added $7,325 to this budget attributable to the software.
What all does this geographic information system give us?
So, you want to?
So, this actually takes a picture of everything we have in the city, every asset we have, a water or sewer or valves or manholes. Not only that, our condition of our roads. We take those, how many miles do we have? How wide are they? What was the last time they were fixed? What was the last time they were seal coated? When was the maintenance? All of that information is put into the GIS, and it allows me, my fingertips, when you ask me a question, I can look it up from there.
I remember we started that, but is that something we have to do every year?
It's something that has to be maintained every year, and as we go through, we find things that have to be adjusted, things that weren't put in properly 10 years ago. We'll find a valve that was not in the place that it is on the map, and we have a guy that goes out there and GPS is in that, puts it correctly back in and re-maintenance it. We use that when we're looking for grants. We look at when we're doing projects. We take that, and that's how we determine what we're going to ask for, or how many we're going to be able to get into that. What's that footage? What is that going to cost to do it?
Thank you.
Okay. GIS has 1 employee, a full-time employee. It's a GIS specialist. He also has the drone that goes up and takes pictures and monitors everything for Kevin when we need aerial photos. There have been no changes made to personnel in the past 3 years, and there's no raises either. Okay, next up is finance. Again, no raises or changes to personnel. We had a decrease to regular earnings, retirement, Social Security, and workers' comp. They all reflect actual expenses. Longevity will increase. Again, $60 per employee per year if you're here the entire year. We decreased training and travel. Right now, there's only 1 of us requiring CEUs. The fiscal services coordinator is almost done with his certification, so he will be needing that probably in FY27. Overall, we cut $4,510 from this budget. At the time, we did not have the appraisal service fee. That is what's paid to the tax appraiser. I think it went up to $97,000 this year. We had $94,000 last year. So $100,000 roughly of the finance budget goes to the appraiser. Anyone have any questions about this?
And how many people do you have working in finance?
We have 3
Okay.
full-time employees. Myself, a staff accountant who does all the AP, all the receivables. She does my spot audits, as well as all of the Civic Center bookings and that. And I also have a fiscal services coordinator who does all the bank reconciliations. He helps with tracking the grants. We also help out in utilities when they're busy. anything that's thrown at him,
And you can't have the person that writes the checks
clearing the
bank
checks.
reconciliation, or the person
Or
that
approving
wires
them.
the money, check the bank rec, just for fraud control.
Or the person approving the checks.
Yeah.
We used to have this year, it was split fully, but last year in FY '24, I had an accounting and payroll specialist that was split 50-50 between myself and Renee. This year, she was moved fully to his department to help with payroll and strictly payroll and insurance and stuff like that to help Renee.
If you're doing the math, they manage 50 million a year in expenditures and revenues. So for 3 people, that's quite the job.
Next up is personnel. Again, no raises or changes to personnel. You'll see the decrease in retirement to reflect that. You'll see the increase in longevity and Social Security just to reflect the actual expenses. Renee was gracious and gave up some of his training budget. I think he tries to do most of his stuff remotely, so he doesn't have to actually travel to other locations. I think most of us prefer that if we can. They removed the advertising and legal. He doesn't really post any legal notices that are required, so there was no need for that. We went ahead and pulled that out. Decreased the printing forms and screening. We went through the last few years and it hasn't been used. It's one of those accounts that if you need it, you need it. If you don't, you don't. So we went ahead, since it wasn't that much, conservatively took it out. There was an increase to the payroll processing services. That is the company that processes the payroll, direct deposits it, files the payroll reports on behalf of the city. And overall, they had an increase of $390, or Renee did, in personnel. Anyone have any questions? Yes,
I do.
sir.
So personnel, government personnel, that's everybody that works in, and we're only spending $1,000 in training a year?
No, that's just for within the department that works.
Yeah, that's
works
just his
with
department.
the people. Renee, you may be better qualified to answer this than me.
Training. That's the great thing about TMLIRP, which is our general liability carrier, property carrier. They provide, all their services are included. They don't charge us extra for any of that. They'll do on-site training. They come on-site and do training, and we'll invite neighboring cities to send their staff if they wish. We've done that a few times. We use an online training software that they provide us also. It's also included in our annual subscription.
Okay.
And that's how we make sure that we maintain all our training for our accreditation with police, with public works. So that's, like I said, that's one of the great things with TML is it's all included with that, what you guys approved at the last meeting.
So basically, there's more training going on than just what because I see that it was lowered from 2,000 to one, it cut 1,000 out for this budget. I just understand the need for ongoing training and so forth, because there's a lot of changes that happen. And that number looks small, but there's other training that's included with subscriptions and all that kind of stuff that's happening.
Itself, utilize the services that are provided to us
Sure.
from the groups that we're part of, including TML, which is one of the biggest, and provides. I mean, it's a vast array of training resources.
Okay, thank you, Renee.
Anyone else? Okay. In personnel, they have 2 full-time employees. You have your personnel director and assistant city manager and a payroll specialist. Again, that position was converted this fiscal year 100% to payroll, and they don't do anything for finance anymore. Okay, next is IT. This was added in last fiscal year, so we're getting away from the contract IT services. There are no raises or changes to personnel, and again, you'll see the fluctuations for earnings, and that was just actual to correct. I think there was when it was provided to us, there was a small difference that we didn't know about. But decrease in retirement and workers' comp because of rates. There's a decrease in computer consulting and maintenance. Again, you're gonna start seeing that slowly taper down as our IT director gets everything under our umbrella and away from the third party. There is an increase to software support, kind of unavoidable. Everything's going up. There also is conversion for the planning software this year that's included in that. A few of the other softwares have gone up in price. There was a couple others security-wise that needed to be added. Overall, this budget is increasing $24,612. You have any questions?
So your software support is a couple $100,000 a year?
Yes, sir.
And yes, that's
Unfortunately.
all the software within the city.
Yeah.
Encode, everything everyone uses pretty
Yeah,
much
we
ends up
have-
here.
It also includes, the computers, which are 26,000 a year, and then financial software is sitting right at 55,000 a year. And then we'll have, software for planning, 36,000. Well, that's a one-time cost with 8,000 for implementing, copying everything over. Adobe, Screen Connect, Debt Book, we've got
Laserfish.
Cardinal, we've got, yeah,
That's fairly,
website.
that's fairly reasonable. That's very reasonable, actually. Corporate training and stuff like that, that we have, it's way in excess of that. Just for the software licenses that you have to keep up and the maintenance fees, so that's understandable.
And it keeps going up. It goes up every year. There's no,
And then you have to pay, you may save $2,000 a year, but you have to pay to move it over. And that's the $8,000.
all that software, all the training, just everything combined, it's like, yeah, it's very expensive, but like, Councilman Wallace just said, that's a very inexpensive price we're paying. City.
Any other questions? We currently have one employee, full-time employee in this department. That's your IT director. There was no changes from FY 24 or 25 to this current budget. Okay, still under general government.
Let me ask you something, just came to mind. Do you have, very much, fraud that you have to deal with in your IT department like the banks do, where people are trying to steal money from you or run false accounts through there, anything like that, that your IT manager?
I get
Yes.
phishing emails all the time.
You use Positive Pay too.
Yeah, we use Positive Pay, but I mean, we get phishing emails and it looks like it's coming from a legit person, or Kevin's trying to change his direct deposit, or Courtney, and it's not them.
Your one person is enough to handle all that?
I mean, for now, yeah, but eventually it's going to need to.
We're also required by state law to do an annual cybersecurity training, which everyone has to do for the workforce. So that's there, and we have insurance. So we're doing what we can, but it's on the rise.
It's gonna keep going up.
Okay, next up is municipal court. Again, no raises or changes to personnel. There's a decrease to earnings, cert pay, retirement, social security, workers' comp, and those are all just adjusted to reflect the actuals. Longevity went up. They decreased uniforms, training and travel, and electricity was removed to reflect the actuals. Overall, they cut $7,825 out of that budget. Anyone have any questions about any of these line
I
items?
was surprised that you did that many.
Do you wanna?
When I came here in 97, the court had a judge and two full-time clerks and one part-time. The one part-time clerk became a full-time clerk in 2002, and we have had that, and we are able to do what we need to do with that. To cut that, would be detrimental to the office. It does take that much. We have reports that we have to send into Austin all of the time. We are filing cases from citizens, from the ISD, from the police department, from code enforcement. And now we've started even taking, cases, ISD, not just of the students, parent contributing to kids. I have two of my pre-clerks that are certified level 2 court clerk, and they have to have specified knowledge, and it just takes that many to run. Happy to answer any other questions while I'm up here if you have any.
Thank you.
Okay. As Judge just said, there's 4 full-time employees, herself, a court clerk, a senior clerk, and a deputy clerk. There have been no changes in the past 3 years, and there's no raises or changes proposed. Still in general government, we have planning. That is your inspections, code enforcement, all of that under planning. No raises or changes to personnel. There's a decrease to wages, retirement, Social Security, workers' comp. Those are all adjusted to reflect the actuals. Increase to longevity, increase to training and travel. That is to cover one of the inspectors going to get his plumbing inspector certification. There's multiple different trainings that are required that he'll have to travel for an extended time, and that's got to cover the hotel and the the fee for the class.
And your planning director's becoming certified in planning.
Is what?
She's becoming a certified planner as well.
We added a property maintenance line item to address the code-related property issues such as clearing lots, mowings, boarding windows, etc. We reduced the demolition of vacant buildings. What we've learned, and Crystal can tell you more to it, and I've got another slide on it. When owners were being approached, they were demolishing it at their own expense. They were providing dumpsters to help them out, but for the most part, the funds were not being used. So in an effort to not have to raise the tax rate, since they were using it, we removed a portion of that. Overall, $27,058 was cut from this budget. To go more into the demolition, in FY24, which was last fiscal year, there was 22 cases. 2 of them were in progress or at court still. 2 of them were brought compliant, or 2 of them went to court, correct? Yeah. Yeah, they were brought compliant. There was 10 self-demolitions, 8 that the city did. The demolition money spent was $23,237.75. We were comped 37 dumpsters. We paid for 40. The total money spent on dumpsters was $35,815. Was that including the comped ones? No. Okay. And then for FY25, there was 25 demolition cases. There was 12 in progress or in court. There was 15 of them that were demoed by the owner, 5 demoed by the city. The demolition money spent by the city was $6,950. There was 23 comp dumpsters and 9 paid for dumpsters. Total spent on dumpsters was $7,825.66. So that's why we cut
And as a reminder, we put liens on these properties, and your department's done an exceptional job of recovering some of those liens back. As properties have sold, we get the money back for whatever we paid to demolish. The end goal is to make sure they do it themselves, ideally, which is what looks like happening.
Who comped the dumpsters?
We get so many in our contract from
Of our contract.
BS.
They give us a certain amount, so we don't have to pay for them.
I'm surprised that looking around El Campo, we can't find more buildings that need to be demolished that have been abandoned. And we can't find a way to utilize those funds by proactively going out and finding these properties and getting them cleaned up. I also find it surprising that we have so few enforcement actions. I mean, if you're only filing 1 lien a month against something, and you've got all these various cases, I'm not sure who's doing what, and I'm also surprised to learn from our city manager that you're training our code enforcement persons to be a plumbing inspector. I thought we had a person set aside to go out and try to enforce the city ordinances and clean up this town.
Budget, so I have to utilize my staff for multiple things. And so as an inspector, you're trained both in code enforcement and in some level of building inspections. So that includes any of your permitted work, your building, mechanical, electrical, plumbing. The reason one of my inspectors is learning the plumbing piece is because both of your utility directors and your public works director are eligible for retirement. And so we have to have that certified. It's by license. And so this is somebody who's worked his way through the city departments from Public Works, has come to do code enforcement, is doing inspections, and is someone that we expect to stay here for a while. And so we're trying to make that investment in him. But we do not have a dedicated code enforcement person because that wasn't approved at the time. I don't know if that answers your questions, but.
It does answer my question, but the answer I keep getting for about the last 10 or 15 years that I've been asking about this is that every time it comes up, the city finds some way to avoid being proactive and going out and trying to find things that need to be cleaned up in this town.
Okay.
Just like cutting these budgets out. I mean, if you can't find a place to, building that needs to be demolished, I'm sure there's plenty of other stuff that can be cleaned up in the town that you can utilize that money for. But it always seems to be the last guy on the list to get funded and get taken care of. And you'd be surprised at how many people stop me in the grocery store, every place all over town, and say that we need to work harder at that. That's my comments.
I do agree 100% with Congressman, Councilman Hancock, about the fact that our town, we can always clean more. I was out when a group came over to do some debris pickup, and I made myself available too and worked really hard at that. However, I may suggest the 12 that are in progress and in court, I'm just trying to figure out, John, I know you've seen houses and you're wondering why isn't this one being taken care of? Well, is there any way to know whether those 12 up there for John to say, well, you know what, they're in court. It doesn't look like anything's happening, but the process is there. Are we allowed to know which homes are being considered?
I sent you the list of the top 10
You
daily
did?
fines, and you could see in that list that many of those owners are deceased, and that is why it's very difficult to just tear down a house. Texas is a property rights state, as most of you are aware, and so you can't just identify a house and say, well, it doesn't have a roof and it doesn't have a front door, so we're gonna go tear it down. No, you've got to find the ownership, and if they're deceased and they have heirs, and the heirs don't care and they don't live here, and they don't respond, and you have somebody paying taxes who isn't an interest of that, we're going through the trouble of trying to track them down.
So-
And what you have to do, we've been doing, and your judge has been great about this, she's been assessing daily fines. Well, those are racking up. We have one person with daily fines of over 50,000. It's obviously not getting their attention to fix it or to demolish the structure. And so now our remedy is to go to court. And what our attorney has said is if that's the prerogative of the council, what do you say, $100,000? Is that what he said? Renee? Did he say 100,000? Judge, you were there. He said 100,000. It would cost us in legal fees to get that list whittled down.
So I guess
So that's your
Right.
council's choice.
so that's the thing I'm talking about though. If Councilman Hancock is being bombarded by people, there's a house over here and why isn't the city doing anything? Well, it's possibly on that list. But do you know that whether it is, I mean, is he able to say, well, guess what? I do know about that house. It is on.
I don't know. All I know is I can drive around town and see lots of rundown abandoned buildings.
Right.
Rundown abandoned trailer houses. And I can see that for 2 years in a row now, we want to take the money away from that.
I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the judge in her quarterly reports does provide case reports, and so does it include addresses in there?
So the information is available, not only available, but the public or we are allowed to see it.
100%.
Okay.
You can call or
Sure.
ask about Kate's.
Good.
And I do want to address too, we didn't completely eliminate all of the funds. We shifted, as Brittany mentioned, some of those funds into lot clearing. One of the challenges that we've seen is that, okay, we've been able to demo almost 50 structures in the last 2 years or have that on the path. But we have a limited resources, and I don't mean to throw Kevin under the bus, but his team is also struggling to keep up with the mowing. And so we can't call on them to mow lots for us for code enforcement. In some cases, the lots are really, really bad and they require actual lot clearing beyond just lawn mowing, as well as dumpsters. And so we've shifted some of those funds into lot clearing so that now we've taken care of kind of the bulk of the dangerous buildings. And now we're trying to focus on some of those lots that really need to be cleaned up and cleared out beyond the capacity of our staff to do. And so we use local contractors. We do a bidding process where we put it out to a list of the local lawn companies that have agreed to be on that list. And they give us bids for the properties that we give them based on going out and looking at it. And we usually go with the lowest bidder on them. But we're using some of those funds by shifting it over. And we have used some of those demolition funds in the last year to kind of start doing some of that. And so it's not completely eliminated. It's just kind of helping us shift to resolve more than just the demolition issue.
I guess my feeling that I'll restate is, as you said, we have limited resources, and that's the issue. When our budget, we continue to limit our resources. We seem to cut that out first.
Wasn't the first thing we cut out, but it.
I understand, I didn't mean to say that. I know
But
there's a lot of other
it
things
was
you cut
cut
out.
because it wasn't utilized, and that's why we.
But it could be utilized, and that's the problem. We're
fair.
not utilizing, we come up with funds, we come up with ideas,
Fair.
and, you know, I'm not trying to pick on people or pick
No.
on homeowners or whatever,
I don't see it
but
that way, Mr.
if we want this community to grow and prosper, our tax base has to increase. And we have a hard time talking people into moving to El Campo, building a house, starting a business, if we've got rundown areas all over every place. I mean, we've still got stuff down our main drag that we talked about cleaning up, 8 years ago? And it's still on the list.
I think I provided you with an update on that
You
list
did?
last year, and most of those issues that were identified by that consultant at the time. have been resolved.
I appreciate you.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
We think we got, on one, for instance, $50,000 fines on that property. Well, the property's probably not worth $50,000. So we get a lien of $50,000 on that property, nobody's ever gonna buy that property. Because we've got $50,000 before they can even start. So it's gonna sit there and be ugly for the rest of the time.
Yeah.
We've got,
Good point.
We kind of hope that in cases like that, that allows us the leverage to negotiate for some sort of redevelopment, or not, maybe whoever buys it, we can, and this would have to come to you all for consideration, but essentially we could incentivize waiving that lien in order for them to tear down and
Yeah.
rebuild, but they would have to
The
meet
house on
certain-
Center Street, for example.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of them that's on the list where the owner's deceased.
Yeah.
Somebody's paying taxes on it, but the fines are racking up. So now we've reached out to the person paying taxes. Now, they don't own it, but
Why
if-
are they paying taxes on it?
that's a great question. But in that case, if they were to come to you and say, we're gonna tear it down, council could say, well, we could look at those fees. I think that would be fair.
Is it fair to say in the practical sense of, you know, you're looking at a budget here, you're trying to meet a tax rate, you're looking at all the different things, and you're trying to find places where you can cut, and you see an area here where you don't necessarily use the money, so therefore it is an opportunity to cut, even though, yes, we could do more. However, in a state like this where we've already voted on a no new rate, we're trying to meet that rate. You find an area there that's I'll say ripe for the taking because it wasn't used
low
in
hanging
previous. Not saying that it shouldn't be in the future, but it's not now. So therefore, maybe it makes sense in this budget to take that. Because you're looking for areas to cut. I mean, you obviously had to look hard Because there's areas in here where you're cutting $7,000 and $2,000 and stuff like that. And that's hard to do when you're talking about a budget this big. So I guess overall, that's how I see it, and just making a statement.
Is there anything out there, actually out there, like I'm gonna call it something, but it may not even be called that, a grant, a beautification grant for cleaning up cities and stuff, if we need, I mean, and if we did have one, would we, because I know you can't use it to tear down a building that's still in court, I get that. But you're saying that we can't pull people over from mowing to do these lots because they're so busy over here. I just wonder, is there anything like that out there? Or?
There's some community development block grants to do home grants, but those are usually, I mean, they're very competitive. We're not a non-entitlement city, yeah.
Okay.
There are some other things. So one of the reasons that I took over your Campo Beautiful board is because it's a way to supplement code enforcement through beautification efforts. And I maintained their relationship and status with Keep Texas Beautiful and achieved their gold standing status this last year so that we can have access to grants like that. The state did cut funding for beautification efforts statewide, so a lot of those funds that trickle down to us through that will not be available. But we do have a 2-year grant cycle that we'll be applying for the fall sweep that helps us with the cost of tires. We can't do that unless we have a grant because that's not something we budget for. But I'm pretty connected to some of the resources that would allow us those opportunities and apply to anything that I can.
For the record, I do concur with Councilman Hancock. We need to clean this place up. Whatever, and I'm not saying there aren't efforts being made. I don't even have a solution, but
And maybe it's not demolishing a building, maybe it's going up to some elderly couple's home and saying, y'all got all this junk piled up next door to you. How about if we help you clean it up? We'll send send a crew over there, load all that stuff up in a dump truck and haul it away. Just be proactive.
Right. Because if I take a look, and I have done this, I've come into town from north, south, east, and west. Coming in from the north is nice. It really is. Mm-hmm. But that's not where most people come from. We're coming down the freeway, we're either gonna come from east or west, and sometimes when I drive through there, I just have to kind of look the other way because there's things that need to be cleaned up. Right. So I concur, I just don't know.
If it says that liens and would be assessed, that's what we're doing. Fines are assessed and we're placing liens. If something needs to be changed, we might need to look at, if you're wanting something else to happen, it needs to reflect in our code of ordinances.
I think Mr. Hancock suggested that if it's not in the code, change the code, right?
And if you can identify what it is that needs to be changed, that would be beneficial.
And we are actively working on that, by the way. So we, as you know, we've been for the last year doing a comprehensive planning. You'll be getting a presentation from the consultants. I believe early, the state kind of held us up a little bit on our process. But I am also personally handwriting your unified development code from scratch, which is something that's probably saving you about $100,000 to get that done. Make sure that we have the tools that we need to do what you're asking for, because you're right, it's not just demolishing an ugly building. It's about making sure that our codes are creating spaces that are meaningful and beautiful for us. And so we are actively doing that.
Thank you.
Mr. Hancock, I understand where you're coming from, and Councilman Koblenz and everything, and yes, it'd be nice to get some elderly people or whatever, say, hey, look, we can come assist, we can help, but we are shorthanded as it is. We've got other things that we're doing to keep the city going and everything, and it makes it hard when we don't have the personnel, we don't have the funds to go help people do that. I mean, we can and everything, and we're here at this budget workshop. We're looking at a lot of different things, and we are at the end here. We're going to have to figure something out by the next meeting here. But I think after we get things figured out, I think we, as a whole group here, with our city manager, her team, and us council here, I think we all need to work together to make sure that we get a budget that we want for, our next budget, to make sure that we are all on the same page and we don't have to have special workshops and different things for, to pass this budget, it's all of us here, number one, hats off to our city manager and our team to do the best that they can. We're sitting here and we're looking at all the cuts that they're making and different things to try to make this work and not raise taxes. But I think next year we just need to start a lot earlier. And I don't know
We
how
can do this
and this
rather than the week before.
yeah and this here what they're presenting to us tonight. Wish we would have had it here earlier. That we could look at everything. But it's a process, and I understand.
Agreed.
We're trying to do the best thing that we can for the city as a whole here, all of us. So, I think it can be done, and it will be done. But it just, it's just, I don't want to say it's a shame, but I don't see why we're here tonight. Discussing a budget still. And we need to, at some point in time, we're out of time here. So. But anyways, we do need to work on it. We do need to make sure that everybody's agreed on everything. And by all means, all of us up here have ideas of what we need to do to keep this city looking good, make it nice, and we want it better. We want people to move here. We want more growth to our city. We want a lot of good things. And we can do it, but it's going to take us all to get it done. And I appreciate everybody's efforts, for everything that we're doing. Everybody's input on it.
Thank you, Mayor, and I appreciate your summation there. Let me ask the council what our thoughts are about transferring some of our city expenses to the broader government in this area, being Commissioner's Court, the county, the Emergency Services District. I mean, the idea that we are spending $500,000 a year or more on communications there at the police station, and we don't charge the Emergency Services District anything. I would imagine that at least half of their work is devoted to emergency services, and ambulance calls, stuff that needs to be reported to the county, law enforcement, all those things. I would imagine that desk, fire department, I would imagine that desk at the police station is spending half their time doing the emergency stuff for this end of the county. I don't know why we don't charge them for it. I know they don't want to, but, or I presume they don't want to, but I don't know why we don't charge them for it. And I think we need to point out to our county commissioner, for instance, I'm not trying to pick on him in particular, but most of his votes come from inside the city of El Campo. When the CDC tries to get the county to help along with a little drainage project for a rail park out there, they say, hell no, I've got 3 people who live on that road, and they're afraid we might mess up their drainage if we deepen that ditch. Stuff like that, they completely ignore the amount of money that people in the city are paying into the county, and figure their only obligation is outside the city. Now, I'll throw out one little thing. Back when I was maybe in high school or college, I was taking our county commissioner, Johnny McDaniels, who was a great guy, out to the ranch to go hunting one morning, and he was telling me that the city was asking him why he didn't do more inside the city. And he said, I'll tell you what, I've got a road building crew. I'm going to build you all a road. I'm going to build you a good one. And he built West Street. Biggest, best street we've ever had in this town. But he said, it's time for me to give back to the people in the town that are voting for me. I just think that there's no reason why our county government couldn't be supporting Friendship Park. Look how many kids that use Friendship Park live outside of town. I don't think there's any law or any reason why a county government can't participate in things like that inside the city. And that alone would give us those 2 things would give us a tremendous amount of money. I mean, you might get $500,000 of outside money just like that. What do y'all think about that kind of idea?
So you're asking the question, so I guess I can get an answer, right? I agree with you. I'm thinking of all these services that we're providing, and it goes outside the city limits. So for that reason, I called Miss Slatty. And I said, what is the deal here? So I don't know, I'm not going to try and remember everything what you told me, but there are some, and if you'd like,
Yeah, I can touch on some of the, county does provide services for us as citizens.
Sure they do.
I mean, they do our tax collections for free. They do birth and death certificates, which is a service we used to do.
Sure they do.
And we're no longer having to do that. And Spinrath has contributed to Blue Creek, but I asked Garrett to come to the podium because Garrett's our liaison with ESD4. He meets with them monthly, and he fights hard to make sure that you get the funds you need. And I think you can better speak to the dispatching situation than I can.
So many years ago, under previous city leadership and everything, EMS needed better representation in dispatch. We weren't getting a very good service at the time. So it was told to us the only way we could get that service if we paid for 1 or 2 dispatchers. And that would add dispatchers to be on the EMS side of things. Well, we were paying that for years, and the service never increased. We never were fully staffed with dispatch, so we never had that dedicated dispatcher. And over years, we determined that we're not using the service as much as was was initially thought. I could, if I had to guess, it's very hard to put to a number. Me and Chief have talked. If I had, well, we didn't discuss this number. I would say we use maybe 5% of the dispatcher's time, just because they only utilize us. We only utilize them to dispatch a call and track us on the radio, and then they print our times for us.
Patrol, checking in with the officers, is that right, Chief? Dispatchers are doing so much more than EMS. He and I had a quite lengthy conversation about this on Thursday.
And I can speak from experience running dispatch at Sugar Land and Fort Bend County. And we dispatch for, in both of those cases, we dispatch for, let's say Fort Bend County example. We dispatch for the sheriff's office, all the constables, I think 8 fire departments, and pretty much countywide EMS. At Sugar Land, we did the same thing with the fire and the police. What you find historically, police on dispatch run about 90 plus to 95% of all the activity. As he said, normally with the ambulance call, you're going to a fixed location, provide the information for that location, they drive there, they do all the fancy work at the scene, and the dispatch isn't as involved. On the police side, there's a lot more dispatching involved. Now, I will say this, is that there may be some avenues that can be explored to try to monetize what that is based upon the actual calls. I've never had that in any of the places I've ever worked. It was always done, when I was at the sheriff's office, we did it. It was our budget, and at the PD, it was the same thing. The PD did it, even though we were also dispatching for the city fire department and at times EMS. And so I'm not against the concept. We'd have to do the math on it to be fair, because they're never going to just pay us for something that I can't quantify. So if I could quantify it and do that, I think you're looking at something for the future that we may consider. And I will say this, as an example, in Fort Bend, a much bigger agency, is that you had dedicated positions we had dedicated fire, police, EMS. Now, what ended up happening is that if you get a fire, as an example in a bigger agency, the fire, when it's happening, involves a lot of people. So usually we lose a police dispatcher. So like in that agency, in Fort Bend, we always had a minimum of at least 3 police dispatchers on duty all the time, just for the police. That's not counting call takers. I had almost 60 dispatchers. Well, the minute the fire, and I'm gonna be honest with you, fire always wanted us to add more people to their side. But what I always told them was that when you're not doing a fire or a call out, that dispatcher's just sitting there. And we committed to having one on their unit. But when you have a fire, our police side's gonna go there. We normally try to always have at least 2 dispatchers on duty. And when that happens, example, we had the big fire
last year, or whatever, at where the old grain elevator was. Our dispatch is doing 99% fire. And our police, then, they're told basically, hey, stop. These officers know that unless it's an emergency and we get a bad call, or they're out on somebody with a gun, then they stop all that. Small agencies, we have to be very flexible. So that's why it becomes problematic to say, if I'm gonna bill you, they're gonna go, I want you to have that one there all the time. And I don't always have that one there all the time. I do think that as Garrett said, probably in the past, this has been maybe argued about, maybe that's the wrong word.
No, that is the right word.
It's been- Right, and it's something that it's very common. It's not just here. It's pretty much your work. What they normally find is, for lack of a better word, they dump it on the police department and say, you're the dispatcher, dispatch everything. And I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I think, it's not a problem with that. We deal with any issues we have. And I'm not opposed, but I'll be honest with you, I'm a numbers guy. And if I could come up with a quantitative, quality number to say this is what the service is really costing, then believe me, it'd be great if another taxing entity was paying for it. I mean, I'd rather ESD pay for it than y'all. So I'm not opposed to it. I think it's something we probably need to explore. But I will tell you, it's very problematic. I've never seen it. We never did it even in Fort Bend or anywhere because we always had trouble trying to put a number to it that somebody else would say, oh yeah, that's mine. I'm gonna take care of it.
Maybe we could just guess at it.
Well,
You want to explain the dynamic of the
yeah.
You can come to my board. Please come. We
Now,
could use some support.
But along those same lines, the Emergency Services District can pay for fire services, and they do pay for some fire services, don't they?
ESD one pays the El Campo Volunteer Fire Department directly. They don't pay us. And
Okay.
then we pay the fire department.
I appreciate our fire department and everything these guys do.
And I was here when a previous city administrator attempted to cut the fire department budget and promptly put it right back.
I'm not opposed to the money being spent, but I have to wonder if how much of the money that we spend on the fire department or for the fire department, however you want to say it, actually is for things that happen inside the city versus things that happen outside the city.
Okay, I can't answer that.
And then that's the reason we
Good
created
point, but I can't
we
answer that.
created an emergency services district so as the people outside the city could participate in these expenses.
I think it's important to see the services that the city residents get versus the county residents. You're paying fire department city money and they're getting ESD money. So theoretically, city residents are paying twice as much, but they're also getting lower ISO ratings to get cheaper house insurance. Their house has a good chance of being saved versus the county resident's house not being saved. I mean, just because of the distance. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to burn, just the distance. But same thing with EMS. City residents are getting an ambulance within 5 minutes at their house versus 20 minutes at their house. So that's my complete personal opinion, is that that's where, that little bit of dispatch money should come from the city a little more, just because they're getting a quicker service.
We did increase their contribution this year, 11,000.
Yes.
We're just incrementally doing it. I mean, we're trying to squeeze more out of them every year. You can't ask them. You can ask them for 50,000. I
How
don't.
much money are they sitting on?
I have no idea.
Hey, is it fair to say that they're, that this is something that we continue to work with and
Yes.
will continue to work with it? However,
next
for
year
this
we'll-
budget system and for this budget cycle,
Yeah.
not gonna be able to do anything with that specifically. However, it's a good topic to continue to
I
revisit.
mean, it's a
Is
great
that fair?
topic.
Yeah.
I think it'll get us exactly where we need to go.
I think we need to start.
Agreed, Mr. Hancock. Yes, sir. I'm glad you brought it up.
Maybe get the commissioner to come in and sit down and visit with us at some point or something like
We
that.
can
you know.
absolutely.
And let me compliment the emergency services system. Everything I've ever seen or heard about y'all's activity has been outstanding. And let me throw out an example. My wife wears one of these Apple Watches. She had a new pair of floppy kind of sandals on and got two little 4-inch steps, and she tripped on one and fell down on the tile floor. The emergency system was on the way before I could get over there to her. I mean, that watch called the EMS and they were sending somebody right then. We had to call within a matter of half a minute or so and tell them, no, she's okay, don't call the ambulance off. I mean, that's great service.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I only eat apples, I don't wear
All
them.
right, moving on.
I don't know how that works.
Picking up where we left off. There are 5 full-time employees in the planning department. You've got your planning director, your building official, your building inspector, who I think is also a deputy building official, and code enforcement, and then you have your code enforcement officer and inspector and a permit clerk. She has 1 part-time employee who is a fire inspector. There are no changes from 25 to 26. Anyone have any questions before we move on about what these do? Okay, that rounds out general government. So that total budget for the previous departments we discussed was $2.4 million. Moving on to public safety. This makes up police, fire, communications, and emergency management. Again, visualization, however you prefer it. Police, their budget's $4.2 million. Fire's $266,000. Communications is $516,000, and emergency management is $107,000. We'll start with police. They have no raises or changes to personnel. You'll see the same changes within personal services, just adjusting them to actual. Decreasement to retirement. I think you had 1 retire that had been here a long time, so that'll decrease that. Chief reduced as many of his line items as he could by 3% just to reduce the budget. Decreased the SRT and equipment, drug dog upkeep. Obviously, 1 of them retired. Reduced vehicle and machinery maintenance. We're hoping with the new units that are coming that it's going to reduce expenses. Can you take a break?
No,
Keep
keep
going.
going. Keep going. Speed it up a little.
Okay, also cut spay and neutering out spot. We cut out I think it's $6,500. Overall, $14,565 was cut out of the police budget. Does anyone have any questions on any of these items? Okay. There are 41 full-time employees in the police department. There are no proposed changes to personnel. I can go through all these positions if you'd like.
No.
Okay, next up, public safety is communications. These are your dispatchers that are behind these screens and getting everybody to you as fast as possible. This is a pretty straightforward budget. It's just payroll, personnel. No changes, no raises. We cut out $6,520. That is just adjusting things to actual.
Just for clarification, all their.
Yeah. Next up is, there's 8 dispatchers. Sorry, I duplicated that on accident. No changes to personnel. Next up in public safety is the fire department. The firefighter pension board agreed to increase the monthly pension by $5 per month. That brings the monthly contribution to $145 per month per participant. They were able to do this without increasing the budget because their numbers have decreased. Other than that, they had no changes. There's no change from prior. Emergency management, no raises, no changes to personnel, retirement, office supplies, they were decreased to reflect actual, cut $765 from this budget. There is 1 employee, the emergency management coordinator. Okay, moving on to public works. Still in the general fund, stay with me. This is comprised of public works administration, your streets department, your vehicle maintenance, and your facilities maintenance. Oh, and parks, sorry, left that one off there. And there's your chart. Public Works admin, 359,000. Your streets department is 1.3 million. Vehicle maintenance is 119,000. Parks is 466,000, and facility maintenance is 201,000, for a total of 2.5 million. Public Works admin, no raises or changes to personnel. Again, we adjusted everything to actual in personnel services. We removed a one-time expense in minor equipment that was used to purchase a full-size plan scanner that is how, I think it's here, isn't it? Yeah. So we removed that out. Overall, there was an increase of $6,950. There are 2 full-time employees, your public works director and your administrative assistant, and they have 1 part-time employee that helps up there as well. Other than that, no changes to personnel. Moving on to streets, no raises, no changes to personnel. Earnings was increased to reflect actual expenses. Cert pay, retirement, longevity, Social Security, workers' comp, all those were decreased to reflect actual. The streets resurfaced seal coating, you'll see that decreased by 60,000. Don't worry, we didn't take his money away. That's being covered in the transportation user fee fund now.
Just say that with streets, I find it hard to figure out just what we're spending on maintaining streets because we have it in so many different accounts.
Yeah, agreed.
It would be nice if we could summarize all that in one space and tell us just what we're spending to maintain streets so we can tell what we're spending this year versus last year, that kind of thing.
That's a really good point, and I think what we could do is just pay for it all out of the transportation user fee and transfer it out of the general fund into.
Maybe just leave it like you have it, and just give us a little summary on the side of what the total is. Just send us a memo about that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Let me just make a note so I can add it to the adopted budget. Huh? Yes, they purchased a new 25-foot Christmas tree. Right after Christmas, they got a really good deal on it, so we need decorations for said 25-foot tree. So they increased it minimally to get money for that. Overall, we cut $60,500 out of the streets budget.
And in our public works, I'll be quiet in a minute, but in our public works system, you guys get a lot done, and a lot of adverse conditions. When something goes wrong, you fix it, and y'all seem to be doing a great job. And you're being proactive about all these utility lines that are about to collapse, and we've seen in the last few years how important that is.
Okay, there are 12 full-time employees in streets, public works supervisor, a street supervisor, 6 equipment operators, and 4 maintenance workers. There are no changes to personnel. Vehicle maintenance, no raises, no changes to personnel. Retirement, decrease to reflect actual. Longevity increase. Overall, they cut $380 from this budget. There are 2 full-time employees. There's 2 maintenance workers. Moving on to parks, no raises, no changes to personnel. Regular earnings, retirement, Social Security, workers' comp were decreased to reflect the actual expenses after restructuring the department. I think you've had an employee, after all this was done, that moved to be over 2 departments. So it's kind of split a little different. Cert pay, longevity were increased to reflect the actual. We removed the contract labor since we purchased the robot mower and the robot striping machine. It's helped, I think, your guys a lot as far as time and management. We added funds for the parks parking lots improvement, the Rotary Park expansion parking lot, and some work at Legacy Park. And we added funds to replace one of the mowers. Overall, we cut $32,005 from the parks budget. There are 5 full-time employees in the Parks Department. They're all maintenance workers.
Hey, can I make a recommendation? Is there areas that we as council have questions on some of these areas? Because I know that you've got a lot of detail in here, but we've all looked at it, at the budget. And so I guess I've got questions on whether or not we need to go through every slide here, or do y'all have questions about certain items that maybe we need to specifically talk about?
Boy,
Do y'all have any, I mean, what, do y'all have, I mean, I'm open to it, and obviously we
I
want to
don't
go
think
through
just
it,
be
but
slide by slide.
just throwing it out there.
I think we've all looked at it. I know I have. I can speak for myself. I've looked at it, went through it. Pretty much what we discussed prior to where we're at right now was about the only questions we had. And it's up to the rest of the council. You want to go through every slide, or everybody got questions answered? If anybody has any further questions, or
I've had
what
a
do you
chance to
comment?
speak my piece and y'all
Well, I
have
was
given me
gonna
your answers, and I appreciate the opportunity, and I don't have any more questions.
Okay.
That was gonna be my sentiment too, is I think the reason we're here is that Councilman Hancock did have some legitimate things he wanted cleared up, and those
Sure.
have been taken care of. Right, and so I'm good with some expedition, is that what's called, expediting?
Is everybody good with this?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Brittany.
Well,
Yeah.
at this time, this thing is adjourned.
40 more slides to go.
File for safety.